possible, but this is not, the Python is actually not used much in game development. Okay, and another thing is actually major use of Python is data science, or actually they have mentioned it as, you can see this actually the official website to check or to get anything you want for the or to learn or to get the any knowledge regarding in this Python language. You can just visit this website. So you can see they have mentioned the applications. Application in the sense the actually the usage. So uses of this Python language is this. So one is actually web and internet development. So actually that's what I said. Web development. Simply, you don't need to consider this one. So it's actually, it says web development. You can develop websites, simply websites. So these types of website. This is also a website. So if you want to have something like this, you can use Python. Not just Python, you can just use any other programming language also. Say this PHP, Java, so even JavaScript. There are many programming languages. So you can use this one as well, this Python. Okay. So the second thing that they have mentioned is scientific and numeric things. Actually, this Python is actually used in handling data, big data, in the sense like lots of data. It can be handled. So with that, we can, in the sense, data science in the sense we collect the data, we just analyze them. So those kind of things, and then get preparing a report or any other statistical things. Okay, that's actually done. It can be done with the Python. So it's there, and so it's actually for the education purpose also they have mentioned, but that is not an application for that. They have just mentioned it. We can develop desktop graphical user interfaces. Okay, desktop interfaces actually can be developed. Now you know that on our computers that we are using, if you are connected with this one, your computer, laptop or desktop, then you see when you use Zoom, you have an interface, right, to connect. Okay, you see, I will just share that one as well. Now you see this Zoom interface, right? This is called interface. This is actually a desktop application, Zoom application. This is actually what you see is user interface. So it's actually helping us to interact, giving the opportunity for us to interact with the application. So with that, you can schedule meetings. You can join meeting, you can share screen and all. This is interface. So this one also can be developed with Python. And one more thing is software development, in the sense it can be like, there are differences are there. Web application in the, just normal web application websites, okay, with login, registration. You know, right? There are the functions in websites. So we can create an account, we can log in. So that is there. So that types of functions there. So that it's a simple website, but there are software in the sense, website also a software, but they consider about developing like with so many functions and all functions. Okay, it can perform multitask, or it can solve many problems. So that is there. So that's what they have just mentioned there, and business applications as well. So these types of things, different applications there. Okay, of applications of Python. Okay, now in these places or in these situations, we can use Python programming language. Okay. So you can see that they didn't mention game development. Game is actually, but can be done So it just comes under software because game also has software. Okay, game, they're apps. You can consider them as apps or software. So it's there. So understood. So this is actually the introduction. So this is what Python is. So students, do you understand this one? What is Python? So any doubts there? So say answers, okay? Students, you have to reply. So Nevan.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So students, first thing is, so please turn on your video. Students, please turn on your video and just ask when I just answer when I ask questions. Understood?
Understood, sir.
Okay, just turn on, okay? And answer like, so do you have any doubts there in this introduction for in Python? Any doubts, any questions? Okay, so this is what Python is. Okay, Python is actually general purpose. So I said that, so we can general purpose in the sense we can do many tasks, many different tasks we can perform. So one is web application development and scientific and numeric things and desktop application development and the um, software development and all. So this can be done with Python. That's first thing that you should know. And the second thing that you should know is this. So when it comes to programming languages, now nowadays we don't just use the programming language. We say them as raw programming languages, just the programming language without any ideas of frameworks. It's not the way in actually in when you just consider the IT companies and the industries, we just use IDs. They actually the ID means integrated development environment. It's used. So or frameworks. Uh, there's small difference between IDs and frameworks, but you can just consider them as same. Okay. So most of the features, like these are the features of any ID or frameworks. So you can develop the user interface as well the backend, in the sense that the backend script and database connection. So you have like in a application there is a user interface that is actually called front end, and there where the users interact with the application. Okay, so now I'm just clicking on it, each and every slides and all. So it's actually what this is user interface. So it's something backend. But when I create these slides, these slides are actually saved in a database or in a save actually. So that is actually considered as backend. Okay, so this is what you should know that. So full stack development, it's a feature of IDEs. So if you are about to just use if you are not going to use this, then you have to write the front end and you have to install or import so many different modules to develop front end and the back end. So that might be like multiple tasks or unnecessary things that you'll be doing when it comes to development, and you'll be writing like so many code when you are not going to use IDs or frameworks. Okay, so it's there. So another thing is actually ID, they just offer writing code. Okay, it can be for front end or back end. So it is actually there, and you can save your works, that source code, whatever you write, and you can fix bugs. So bugs in the sense, the problems or the error, okay, or error that comes in your code or in your application, so that can be fixed. So it's this kind of general features are there in IDE or frameworks. Okay, so we have to anyway install one. There are many. You can just Google it and see Python IDs and all. Python IDs, best Python IDE. There are many framework and IDE there. Okay, so see how many Flask, Cherry Pie, and so many. Like you can just see that this is actually giving the top 10 IDs. Okay, so there are IDs for to develop full stack or just the backend, that kind of things. There are types, but what you want to know is this one. You should know that there are many frameworks and IDE as well, and IDE as well, Python IDEs. Okay, but the problem with these actually, now you should, like this one, PyCharm is mostly used, PyCharm as IDE. So we'll be installing this, or sometimes this one, this framework, where is that? Sorry, this framework. Okay, or we'll be just using the simple IDE. So this one is actually, we have to install Python first, and then this IDE. There are so many things are there. Okay, it will be anyway taking time when it comes to installing these IDs and all. So we are not going to do that now, because before that we have to learn the basics in the sense there are the functions and all, how to do small or simple things, arithmetical operations and all, and how to use the structured, that conditional conditions in your program. So those kind of things are there. Okay, so in the sense, like, you know that in the last, in the trial session also, I said that programming, in the sense, we are just writing the instruction for the computer, so, and to solve a problem. So your problem can be solved sequentially, one by one, step by step. That's there. Or else sometimes there might be selection based on conditions. It will be selecting a part of the program. So that's really a solution. So it will be solving that, okay, based on the condition. So that is actually selection based. There are repetition as well. So in the sense, loop. So something or set of actions will be repeated based on a condition or until something is met, a condition is fulfilled. So it's there. Okay, so we have to learn these things first. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to like going ahead with these things. So we have to connect with database. It's actually a database. MongoDB is a database. So that is actually required. Like when it comes to real world application, you can't just develop an application with these basics. Okay, this is actually basics. So it's there. So there are lots of things. So we have to learn these things first. Then only we have to go to this connecting, working with database, or we can go with the, there are many tutorials or the books. So now this is actually developing games with Python. Okay, and this one is actually for, like, there are so many things that they have mentioned here. So we can learn any of these. But before that, what we have to do is we have to learn the basics. Okay. So that's there. So here, now the important point here that you have to know is this. So you have to write this, okay? So application of Python. Now you can just put this title, Python introduction, or just write Python and then write this one. You know that Python is a programming language, and then you have to write applications of Python is actually mostly web application development and the data science. Okay, so these are the important points that you don't need to worry about these things, IDEs and frameworks. So just write this. Okay, write this heading first. So we are learning Python. So write this, put this heading, and then after that you have to write this one. Okay, so just write. When you finish writing, Nevan, can you please turn on your video? Okay, so done, right? So you have written this Python introduction. That's the heading. Okay, you have put that, right? And now just write this is actually what is Python is as a question, and then write this as an answer, a general purpose programming language. General purpose means we can do many things. Sorry, yeah, we can do many things. Many in the sense, one is the application development, second one is mobile application or the desktop application, and you can develop data science. You can use it for data science and all. So I would like to say that Python is mostly used for web application and data science, and when it comes to mobile application development, Java is used. Java. Okay, so like when you just look at when you just search for any websites, like you might be visiting a website that is done in Python. Okay,
Excuse
but
me, sir.
the
I'm Setuli.
sorry,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
Sir, I'm joining with the mobile phone. Can you please increase the size of the font, please?
font. Okay, okay, okay. Is it enough?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, I can't see the screen.
Okay, finished.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what about Rasika? Finished.
No, sir, I'm Setuli.
So,
That
okay,
is my
sorry.
mother's name.
Okay, sorry for that. And if it's possible, just set your name. Okay, so then, so there, you just set your name. So then I can
Sir, I
just.
have finished writing.
Okay. Okay, now you can just write this as well. So application, the use of Python. Okay, applications. So where it's used, mostly web application development and the data science. Data science in the sense actually in using computer. Okay, so that's where only we just use artificial intelligence there, machine learning. So there are so many technologies, computer-based technologies. We just use this Python there. So just write them. Okay. And if you want to know that, I would like to say that the YouTube is actually developed with this Python programming language. Okay. So they have used like multiple programming languages. So Python is used there, like the majority of them are actually in Python. And you should know that like when it comes to the user interface, the web application user interface, it's actually developed in or with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this one you can see HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These programming languages, they are not programming languages. They are actually you should say that this is a markup language. This is a styling language to style the elements and all. So now you can see this color, the size and everything is actually, we can set them with CSS. And the layout, now it's appearing here in this left side. Okay, so this types of this layout and this menu, the navigation and all, it's possible with this HTML. So it's there. So then where are these Python used? So this is actually used in backend scripting. For example, now you can see there is something, a button, login button. So when you click on it, it's going to the login page. So login page. So it's asking our email and password and all. So when you just enter, so you will be just logged in if you're just entering the right email and password combination. So that is actually that verification, validation, and everything is actually done with an scripting, the backend scripting language or programming language. So in that situation, you can use Python. Okay. So now when you just click also like that, the redirection or directing to another page and all that is also actually possible with the scripting languages. Okay, so that is something you should know. So the front end issue, what you see is actually now when it comes to websites, they are actually with HTML and CSS, JavaScript. Mostly what you see is now, see, this everything is actually HTML. Okay, there are other elements now, image and everything is there, but they are actually embedded or written within the HTML tags and all. So I'm not sure whether you know them, that HTML, CSS and all. So this is there. Okay, but we are not going to learn this interface development, not. It's actually going to be the how to, we are going to learn how to script, how to write the backend program. Okay, so in the sense, we are going to write actual code or the program. Okay, these are actually not considered as programming languages. This one, HTML, CSS, no, they are just, you can just simply say computer languages, but they are not programming language. Okay, which one? Which one? Say, I'm just going to ask you. Okay? Yeah, Nevan, just tell me, is HTML is a programming language? Is HTML a programming language? No. Your mic is actually off. So audio. Yeah, you are correct. I just got it. HTML is not a programming language, but it's actually used to mark up the elements. Okay. So there are, like, when you see visit a website, something, you see images, videos, text, buttons, they're there. So they are actually elements. Those elements are actually marked up, their positions or their locations, or the layout of the page is actually marked up with the HTML. So this is there. So CSS and all. So we are using them for the front-end development user interface, but Python is actually for backend. So that is why you can see they have just mentioned these things. Anyway, so now okay. So now we'll see. Now we'll be just using this one. Okay, w3schools.com. See, Python, like I'm sorry, we'll be just using this one, w3schools.com. Okay, so that is the. So do you want me to send this link? I think that day also I sent. Yeah. Then what do you want? Just put it in the chat. Never. Okay, just put it. So what about who is that behind you? So is that your name?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So did you understand everything?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so you want the link. So we will be using this. Actually, it's enough for the moment. But when it comes to real world development, you understand that, right? The term that I say, that real world applications. So for example, let's say now this type of application. So you have to use a programming language, and that's also not just the programming. We have to use a framework or IDE to develop the websites or the application very quickly. Otherwise, so without that also, without the IDEs or for frameworks we can develop, but it will take time. Okay, it will take time. So that's there. So we won't be repeating the the same code and all with the frameworks, or when we use IDEs. So it's there. So see, and the Python is actually a little bit different from other programming languages. Okay, so you should know that first. Python is a little bit different from other programming languages, because like they syntax wise, syntax in the sense the way that we write the code. Okay, this is, you can see, okay, you can see here what how we write this print hello world. It's there out now. They have just mentioned that as well in introduction something. Okay, so you can see the Python syntax compared to other programming languages. When you compare with other programming language, so there are two difference actually. Python uses new lines to complete a command. So it's actually a command, okay, or a statement or something. So when you, now it's actually to complete it, other programming language, they use semicolons. Now, for example, in the PHP also, I just, last day also, I just explained you. See, we are using this semicolon. See, this semicolon to complete this command. So it says that echo means it's also like sort of printing function to print the text or whatever on the display. So this function is used. It's a built-in function. It is there. It's an, or we can simply say it's an instruction to the computer to print or to display this text, whatever written here. Okay, but to complete this instruction, we use a semicolon here in PHP and most of the programming languages, but the Python doesn't use. So we don't put that. Okay, that is one thing that they have mentioned here, the difference. Another thing is actually they use that white spaces to define scope. So we will just learn this here when we just study the functions and all. There are functions, there should be functions or the methods. So when here, Python functions, when we learn this, we will just understand what they have just mentioned here. Okay, white spaces there, but where, like we'll see, I will just click on it. So you will, this is Python, and where is this one? Almost same, like all the programming languages. So they are actually having same sort of functions and all the methods in the sense the instruction to the computer. Okay, for example, printing, reading, to output something. So that input output function, see, if else statement, the loop statement, these are here. You can see, you can find them in PHP. And the Python also, you can see the same things are there. Okay, that if else, loops, and the arrays and everything is there. Okay, you have to understand that first. So almost same, but the syntax wise it's different, a little bit different. So now here in the Python, this is the way, and now PHP functions. Now we are writing, see that this is what said, this curly braces. Okay, but in Python we don't put them. See, we don't put them. So it's the function. So when we write a function, so it's a function in the sense it's going to, this function will be doing a set of tasks or a single task. Okay, so this task, this one, printing task. Here it's a printing task. So when it comes to Python, now here also printing task. Okay, now when it comes, now here it's a function. So this function name is this, and what it's going to do, it's just going to, this function will be printing or displaying hello world, okay, on the screen. So to write that, like the task for this function, we just use these brackets. It's actually said curly braces. Okay, we are just using them. But in Python, we don't use that curly braces. Okay, so what we do is we just keep a space, or we put a space here. See, this is the line, right? So we are just indenting here. So this is, there's a space. So that means this statement belongs to this function. So that's how we just write functions, or that functions and all in Python programming language. So that's the difference. Okay, you have to know that first. So these are the two major differences in between Python and the other programming languages. Okay, so right, sorry, yeah, I have sent it to, sorry. I will send it to everyone. So this is the link. And now if you can read and understand, you can actually practice these things. There are lots of things, but we won't be covering everything, because otherwise okay, otherwise I think that the problem is the time. Okay, so the time is not enough for us to complete each and everything. So when we try to finish these things, we have to anyway cover this, but it will take time. So we will just going through some of the basics, and then we'll be just jumping into the advanced thing. Advanced in the sense, we will be just seeing how to create some functions and all, real functions in Python, with Python, using a framework or IDE. So we'll see. Okay. No, this is actually the link that I have sent is for to learn, to practice the Python. Okay, there are many other websites, tutorials and all. So I have just sent this. So it's actually easiest one. So they have simply simplified all these things, Python functions and all. So you can see there are examples. You can try them. You can try it yourself. So this is there. So that's why. So I prefer that you just go through these things, okay, when you have time. We will be anyway discussing some of these. Okay, so this is done. And to install this, I said that we are not going to install anything now, because we are going to just practice this. And one more thing is, like, we are about to learn Python, Java, and other programming languages. So when we try to install them, okay, you have to anyway have a computer to study, to learn, because we can't just learn these things by writing in your exercise books. Okay, this is programming. If you want to learn this, you have to anyway use computer. Okay, so it's there. And the minimum requirements, like, actually you should have like 8 GB RAM and all. Otherwise it will be very slow, your computer. Like, it will take time to load the IDE or framework. So that problem is there. So just consider this. Otherwise we'll be just missing most of the things that we are going to practice here. Anyway, we'll see. I will be anyway trying to use a lightweight application, or the IDE framework, to develop real world applications. it's not going to be very advanced things, it's simple things and all. Okay. So now see, let's go to this one, Python. So the syntax, in the sense, the way that we write, syntax means the way. Okay. So in our English or other programming language, other languages, we have something called grammar, right? Grammar means it's just the way of writing that language. So same here, this actually in programming language we have syntax. So like in English, when you just miss something, preposition, or so any grammatical mistake, when you make some mistake, so it is considered as what? As a wrong sentence, something like that, right? So here also, when you just make a small mistake, what happens here is actually it won't be executed, it won't run. So it's actually the instruction to the computer, right? So when you make a small mistake, what happens? It won't run, and it will be giving throwing errors. So that is what happened here. Okay, sorry. So see, okay, now Python indentation is there actually, that small spaces, white spaces and all, they actually consider. But in other programming languages, white space, when you make white spaces, they are actually removed from the code. Okay, that difference is there between the other programming languages and the Python. Okay. Understood. So when you make like okay, Python uses, see, this is an example, that's what they have just mentioned. So if 5 is greater than 2, that's how you should read it. They say that if 5 is greater than 2, you have to, it should say display, saying in a sense it's going to display. What just happened here, print in the sense just going to print in on this screen. Okay, it will be printing 5 is greater than 2. So it's actually a condition. So it just check whether it's true or false, true or false. So when it's true only, it will be printed. Which one? This statement will be printed. If it's false, it won't be printed. Okay. Now, for example, now I'll be asking you, okay, we'll just make it. See, where is that? We'll ask Bihandu. Am I correct? Actually, your name is Bihandu, right? So now say this is actually a condition. Okay, we are just saying now if one, now it's is it true, this statement, this condition, is it true or false? True or false? False. So when it's false, will it be printed, this statement? Yeah, Naveen? No, sorry, Nevan. Yeah, say. Will it be printed? Now this one, this statement, will it be printed? Rion. Where is he? Rion. Rion say that will it be printed? This statement, will it be printed? This condition is actually false. Okay, so his statement, will it be printed? Yeah, so it won't be printed. Now he has sent the message. Who is that? Never. So it should not print, okay? So we'll run it. So it's just taking time. See, you can see there's nothing printed, okay? In the sense, nothing is actually displayed. So the reason is the condition is false. So when it falls, we didn't say anything, okay? When this condition is true, it should be printed. When otherwise, we have to use else statement here. So else we have to write something else, okay? So in the sense, one is now this here one, so one is smaller than two, something like that we have to write. Okay, so that's there. So this is one thing you should know, okay? In programming language, we just use conditions, logics and all. So when it's true, something will be will be happening. So otherwise, we should write another part to execute. So we can just leave it blank. So so at that moment, you don't see any output here on the display or any other output devices. So that's there. Okay, so the problem here is now that this space is actually very important here. Okay. So Python use that indentation to indicate a block of code. It's a block of code. It's a block, code block. Okay, it's actually belongs to this if block. Okay, so that one actually, for that to print this, you have to anyway have this indentation. So when you don't have this space, okay, so we'll see there were two spaces, right? Okay, so just wait. So they have mentioned there are other conditions, like the number of spaces is up to you. Okay, so now you can put two spaces or one, it's just up to you. So number of spaces is just up to you. So there might be other blocks and all, so that's why it's just not giving the result. So that's the problem. Like when others like creating the we have to change the condition as well. So we'll just make it to put, we have to put this 3 or 4, 5, because it should be true, otherwise it won't be printed. Okay, so here now this statement is true, it should anyway print. So it's printed, right? So now the spaces, number of spaces is actually up to you, but when you like it's a block, right? So when you have another else or something, then you have to use the same number of spaces for that. When you change that spaces, the number of spaces within the block, same block, it will be making errors. So that is what they have mentioned here as well. Okay, so yeah, wait, sorry, so see, now another example that they have mentioned here is you have to use the same number of spaces, that spaces. See, same number of spaces in the same block of code. Otherwise, the Python will give you an error. But in PHP, that is not the case. Okay, that's not the case. So we'll go for a if statement. So then you can understand that it's the same thing, right? The same thing. I will just use this one, PHP. We were doing, it's not going to be here. This is enough. So here we have to write what? So we are writing this, and here the space actually doesn't matter. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. But in Python, you have to anyway consider these spaces. Errors. So in the sense, error in the sense your program is actually the instructions are not executed properly. They are not executed at all, not properly. They won't be executed. So the computer program won't run. So any task actually won't be executed. So nothing will happen. So that is what actually called as bug. So we have to fix it so that those kind of things are there. So here we will anyway see. So this is something necessary. No need. You have to practice. Okay, you don't need to write these things. Writing is actually not going to help. So just practice. That's why I have sent you this one, the link. So you have to practice that. Okay. So we have to do this. So that's it. So here actually you have to just terminate this. And another thing that I should say is now very important point, like when you take a programming language, there might be many functions, keywords and all, like thousands of functions. Okay, thousands of functions, keywords, they're there. So what happens, like you can't just memorize them. So what you have to do is, the best way is, so you have to practice. Okay, so the best way is actually you have to practice these things, like really you just try these small pieces of code and all. So it's there. Okay, so you have to try to do this, otherwise you won't just learn this. Okay, so that's I think there's a small mistake with this. We don't need to put this. Okay, now there might be exercises as well. Okay, I will be just giving you that also. Yeah, there are exercises, so we'll be doing that as well. So before that, so I have to emphasize these things. Okay, I have to emphasize these things. Wait, I didn't execute properly. I have to just fix that. There's a small mistake there. Okay, see now the same thing, like there was a small mistake, but it's now executed. Okay, so now see, now we are writing this one, but now if, and this one is actually not considered this space as a node. So when you execute it, it should anyway display the same. Okay, see, this is not an important thing. You can keep spaces, but that's actually will be removed by the PHP. So white spaces, they are actually considered as white spaces. So they are removed by the PHP itself. See, you will see that. It won't make any errors. See, again, it's just printing. See, again, just printing the same. Understood? This is in PHP. Okay. Rion, I can't see your face. Can you please sit properly? Okay, just adjust your camera. Okay. So did you understand this, Leon? Understood.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Leon, understood.
Yes, sir.
So I will anyway, I'll be giving you a small task, the same thing, but you have to try it. So now here, so the point is actually not yet explained, fully explained. Now see, here in Python, what we said, space is very important, but when you just don't give or put this, enter this space as a node, then it will be making this error. See, so what is this? Small mistake, you can see the error. Understood? What we wanted, it should say, it should print 5 is greater than 2, but it didn't print. The reason is, it says there is a problem here, there's a mistake here. At this point, they are just indicating the error. Okay, so that is here, that mistake is actually we didn't put this space. So now it will work in Python. So these are the difference. Okay, this is the difference. That's all. That's in that. There's nothing much. So this is a difference, and you have to consider these things they are very important. Okay, so now you all got the link, right? This link. So what you have to do is you have to just print this kind of statement, but you have to write them. So please share your screen and do it. So what you have to do is actually you just compare just two numbers, and you have to, the condition should be like if it's smaller than the second number. There are two numbers, right? Two numbers. This is the first one and the second one. So it says that if it is greater, the first one is greater than the second one, then it should print this. But you have to change the condition. You should write if the first one is smaller than the second, start from who's going to start? You have to share your screen, okay? I think with your phone also you can do the same. There's no issue with that. You can just visit this website and do. But when it comes to like downloading and developing the real world application with the framework or IDEs, you can't just use your phones because you can't do that. It's not possible with computers. Yeah. Nevans, just start. Share your screen first. I will just enable my, yeah, it's already enabled. So did you share? So I will just stop, otherwise I can't see anything. Yeah. Okay, now just write that. So you have the condition is actually if the first number, there are two numbers, number one, number two, or the first number and the second number. If the first number is smaller than the second one, you have, it should be printed. Now you have to just open that, your Chrome, Google Chrome or any browser, and visit the link that I said send, the Python. Google Chrome, just open it. Just start. Okay. Whatever the way, just yeah, you can try there as well. Click on try it yourself, that button, and delete the code. Remove, delete that. I mean, just remove it, and then write this one. The same thing, but the condition is actually different. If the number one is smaller than the number two, then it should print. So the thing, I think you have to use this. Okay, I will just put in the message for everyone in the chat. You have to use this one, this less than sign, less than. Okay, because they were using greater than, right? So in this situation, you have to use less than. And it should be true, otherwise it won't be printing anything. So you have to put right. So is it possible for you? So you have to understand this right. Without just knowing these logics and all, you can't just write, because it's programming is not about it's not related to maths or any other subjects. It's just logic. Okay, you should know these things. So that's why I'm just giving. Okay, wait. the command is actually this one. I can, if you want, like I will just copy it and send it to you. I will send it. Okay, wait. So this one, right? I will just put it. I will put it in the chat. You have to customize it. So that is what in company. I think you don't know these things. In companies, in IT companies, they will be just modifying others' code and all. So you should have that skill as well. So see, I have sent it. Okay, I have sent it. You have to copy paste it. Copy and paste there in that editor. Copy that code and paste there, and then modify it. Little changes you have to do. So for the Rion, you need the link. Rion, the link is this. So others also you can try. Okay. Meanwhile, now he's just trying. You also, I have sent the code. Just copy paste it. Okay. So now you have to do this modification. Now others also just try. Who is that? Setuli, Bihandu, and Rion. Try it. What you are going to do is you are going to just modify. Don't
Excuse
delete
me, sir.
everything.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Sir, have you sent the link to the WhatsApp group?
No. Here in this chat, Zoom chat. Just check it. So others, are you trying?
Sir, I can't find no.
Who is that?
I'm Setuli.
You didn't find what?
The link, sir.
Okay, now I will send it now. So wait. Now did you get it? Received?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So visit that link and try it. You should be good at this. So this is very basic fundamentals. Everything is this. So like when you just learn a programming, one programming language, it will be the same in others. But what differ is actually the libraries, the functions, the way of writing the instructions, and all that is the difference. Otherwise, but that if else and all other statements and all they are the same actually in all the programming language. So just try to do this. So what about?
Sir,
Yeah.
I got the link. Now what should I do?
You just visit that, click on the link.
I am on Python. I am in Python.
Okay. So now you can see there is a section like a button saying that try it yourself, right? You can see there, try it yourself. Did you find the button?
Yes.
So click on it.
And now, okay.
Okay, there you can just try your code and run. So it will be in the left side, so right side, it will be printing or displaying the result. Okay, so that's how it just work. The left side, you just write your code. Right side will be displaying the result or the output. Okay, so now see, So okay, just I will just share my screen now. What about who is that? Nevan, did you finish? You stopped sharing your screen, right? Okay. So we'll go to another one. Bihandu, can you please share your screen? We want to see what you have done so far. Certainly
I'm
as
still
well.
busy.
Yeah, that's why just share the screen. We have to see. Okay. So you don't need to put that. Yeah, just right. Just do it. This side. Finished. Who has done it? You understood that the question, right? The problem is actually you are comparing two numbers, and actually it should print like when the first number is smaller than the number one, or the first number is when it's smaller than, okay, the second one, then only the next or that statement within that if block should be printed. Otherwise, nothing will be printed. Okay, so that's the thing that you have to consider. Understood this? The logic. That's it. Okay. So anyway, who can do that? Sorry.
Sir, can you teach me one?
Okay. So anyway, I will share my screen. Who is this sharing that? Behind so it says that when this one, this is, let's say, number one, number two. So when the number one is sorry, it's actually if condition, not when or something. If the number one is greater than number two, number two means number one is 3, number two here is actually 2. So when this one is greater than this, the second number, it should print this. Otherwise, it won't. Otherwise, it won't. We just did that, right? So when it's 1, the condition is actually this is actually false. So it's not going to print anything. It's not going to print anything. Okay, we just did that. Now what I'm saying is you have to change the condition. So it should be, wait, okay, it should be other way around. So in the sense, like, we have to change this. It's actually greater than, I'm saying that number one should be, okay, I mean, number one means I'm saying this is a first number. Okay, this is second one. So if the first number should be less than. So here what you have to change is this sign. It's actually greater sign, greater than sign. So you have to change it to this. Sorry. Yeah, that's the one. So it means that if this number lesser than this one, which one? This second number, then it should say or print this. So here, this is actually what one is. than 2. So this is something should be printed. Now okay, so now this is what the condition, is it true or false? That's what I just want to know from you. Okay, we'll ask from Rion. Rion, is this true or false? You don't need to consider this if, just consider this, the selected one.
True.
One is less than true. What? Sorry, I didn't hear.
True.
Yeah, so it's true. So when it's true, it should print, right? It should print. So we'll see. We'll run it. So now just executing, and it will be printing. See, it's printed. So that is what I asked you to do. Okay, just change the condition. Okay, now how to read this now? It's actually 1 is lesser than 2. 1 is less than 2. So the condition is if it is, so if it's true, now it's actually true. So if true, then it should print this statement. Okay, otherwise it's not going to print anything. Okay, so that's how you have to just write. So that is for today, and first one is you have to learn them first. So we can't just go to the advanced things without learning these. And very important thing, another thing is comments. We'll see how it works. Okay. So comments means actually these we use these comments in any programming languages to actually comment, to write the comments on that program. Okay, now mainly when you just consider the programming languages, sorry, the code, it will be there are like many lines of code in a program. Like I will just show you. We'll inspect this. Okay, now this page, now right click, you can just for it, you can do this on any page. Right click and click on, okay, you can't just right click here, it's actually disabled. I think that is actually disabled. Right click here and click on view page source. See how many lines are there, the code that they have written. How many lines? 669 lines of code. Okay, it's actually for the front end, not the back end. Okay, not the functional wise function things. It's actually the user interface and not. So what you can see is actually HTML, CSS, and other script, front end script, and all you see. Okay, now here we don't normally write like here. See, it's also a comment. So they are commenting it. Okay, now this also comment. So there are different ways, okay, to comment. Now this also a comment. This one here, this is just starting from here and finishing here. So this is actually in HTML. And in CSS we use different one. And here in Python, now the reason for using these comments and all, actually, when you just write this many number of lines, sorry, lines of code, now you can't understand like where you wrote a particular block of code or something. So you can't understand. So where did I write this part and that and all? So you might be just going through, like if I want to just find the place where I have written, I'll be just going through, but I won't just find if I don't have any comments. So what we have to do here, we can't actually write here because it's actually the page source. So we have to write we have to put a comment. Okay, this is where we are starting the section 1 or the first block. Okay, let's say header, and this is where it is finishing. The header is finishing, and then the body start of body, and then end of body, and the start of footer, and then end of footer. Now I'm talking about this. This is actually, let's say it's header. No, this is header. This one is header, and then this is footer, something like that. This one. So here we just write comments and okay, good. Never. So he just sent me that he has done it. Okay, good. Now what about others? Did you try it? Now you should be able to write this one without looking at anything. Okay,
Yes,
now this
sir.
is not memorizing. Okay, so it's not about that. Now you have to just practice this thing. Okay, so that is the thing that I'm just expecting from you. Okay, anyway, what I was saying, like this one, the commenting. So now here in programming languages, we just use that. So one purpose is actually to just mention that this is where we are starting. So when we when we edit them in few days or few years, let's say you have written a code like 2 years before, and now you have got an error or you are going to update it. So then you have like thousands of lines in a page. Okay, so you don't know where you have written the piece of code or where to update it. So it will be taking time. So that's why we put a comment. Okay, this is section 1, section 2, or this is where I have written this function, login function, registration function, and the other functions. And we just put that comments and all. That is one situation. Okay, second is actually when you're about to fix any bugs. Okay, now we have just written a code. Okay, yeah, we have written, and then when you run it, it is giving error. It's giving error, and you don't know where it is that error. So that's why now when you don't know the exact place, you can just do comment. You can comment it, so it won't be executed. The very important thing that you should know is whatever you comment on your like source code, it won't be executed by this server. Okay, so that is why we just do that. So it won't be executed. So when the part which is making the error is commented, your program will be executed without any errors. So then you can understand that. So this is where the problem is. So that is the thing. Okay, you should know. So it's there. So did you understand this comment thing? Comment. Okay, now see, starts with this hash in Python. So with a hash, and Python will ignore them. So when you put that hash, it will be ignoring. For example, now this is correct, that true. So it should print. But when I put this, what happens? We'll see. Okay. When I put this, I have just commented it. So I'm just commenting it. So it's a comment now. And when I run, it won't print. Sorry, the space mistakes and all, so it should be something like this. Unexpected UFI passing during handle of above exception, another exception occurred. Okay, so now since it's expecting something, so this statement, so we can't just, because it's just useless too, so we'll just comment both. So then no error and nothing is going to be actually displayed here. So see, we actually commented both statements. Actually, this is actually a block. So we have commented it. So it's actually, see, didn't display anything here. Understood? So that is how we just like stop executing a block or statement of code. Okay, you can just block command one statement or entire block or something. So you can see like it's just printing this one and not this. This is a comment. It's just a comment. Okay, when you just when you don't do anything, we will see what happens here is actually might be giving error. So I see. Because like you can't just print something like this in Python. If you want to display this is a comment, then it should be within a method, within a function. This is a print method or function. So that within that function only you have to write this. Otherwise, it will be giving this error. Okay, error message. This is an error message. So invalid syntax. Okay. So now what you have to do is you have to comment it. So then it's not going to give that error. Okay, how to comment? Just put this hash in front of that line, that statement. Okay. So it's there. And see, there are like in other programming languages, we use we have multi-line comments. Like we can start here and then we can end after many lines. Okay, we can just comment them. But in the Python, we just have single line comments, so we don't actually have it. Okay, so if you want to comment many lines, you have to just put this hash in front of that many lines, whatever the lines that you have to comment. Okay, so this is also another, it's actually a trick, not the way. So they have just mentioned it. Anyway, it's enough for you. You can just simply use this. This one also possible, but so this triple quotations that you have to just put quote. Okay, so that's there. So you can just put that multi-line string, like you have to just, if you want to comment multiple lines, then you have to use this, that triple quotes. So within that, you have to write whatever to be commented. Okay. So that's all today. Now what we have done today is actually the introduction, syntax and comments, and we have to study variables. That is very important. In the next class we'll be doing it. And what else? Variables, operations, Okay, and then if else conditions, and those are very important. That's what it is, because we can't just study everything here, but you have to because with the help of your parents, you have to go through each and every the section of this tutorial. Okay, it's just in English, right? You can read and understand, because so it's actually beginner friendly tutorial. So don't need to worry. Just read and understand, try to understand these things. But we are going to do in our variables, and then the important thing actually I just mentioned, right? This one, operators and if else conditions, sometimes this function as well, and they are enough. Okay, so that will be in the next class, and after that only we will be just installing an IDE to our computer, and we'll be just developing in that. And when it comes to real world application, let's say you are going to connect with database and all, something like this. Okay, connecting with database, MySQL or any other program database. MongoDB is also there. And then what you have to do is you have to download these as well, MongoDB or MySQL database. So you'll be installing Python, you'll be installing an IDE, Python IDE, and then you'll be installing MySQL or MongoDB database. So then what happened is actually we should get data from the user interface, and it will be just enter the database. That is what happened. Like
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, should we want to install them to the computer?
Yes, you have to, otherwise we can't develop. So with this one, what you can do is actually you can just practice this thing up to this. Okay, now this actually you have to work on your computer. So other part of this tutorial should be done on our computer. Otherwise, we can't just get the expected result, the output. Okay, so that's there. Okay, so understood. So that's all for today. I hope you understood these things and try to practice this as much as
Sir,
possible.
do we need it to next week?
Sorry?
Sir, do we need it to the no? Sir, do we need it to next week?
Yeah, well, I will anyway just let you know. Next
Okay.
week, not the next week, we will be just studying these things, some of the tutorial here. Okay, relations from variables to operators and all. And after that only, so we'll be just installing an IDE. But that actually we have to do it together. Okay, otherwise we won't understand, because I don't have any of them. I normally use these online editors and all, and so we will just install it together. So then only you can understand, right? Now, when I just install, and I can't just install another one, because I have already installed that IDE on my computer. So that we will do anyway. Okay. So now that's all for today, and you can leave now except Rion, because Rion was joining the class. I think he was delayed, right, in joining the class, right? So except him, others can leave.